Hello everyone. In this semester, I'll be dealing with your paper 6 and the name of the paper is International Relations. Today we will be looking at the first unit of your first topic, and today we will be discussing about the meaning, nature and the scope of international relations. So this is the first topic of your first unit. So here you could clearly see the what is actually about international relations and what is the subject matter of international relations. So while talking about the subject matter of international relations, it is very fascinating and interesting subject, because it not only study about the behavior of states and non-state actors, it also studies the people and the culture all over the world. And it is very new subject, discipline. It was only developed during the first half of the 20th century. So that is after the First World War. So this subject has been immersed after the First World War. So we have seen the First World War. So First World War was very catastrophic war, because we have lost so many lives during the First World War. So in order to study all those things like nature of the war or causes of the war, or how to maintain peace, or how to create future peace in the international system. So all this things has been studied by the international relations. So that's why this subject has become immersed in order to study about the causes of the war. Okay. And that's why the first academic discipline was established in the University of Wales in 1919. And it is a very dynamic subject. And why? Because it basically relates with the or focuses with the day-to-day events of the state's behavior, or activities of the state in the international system. And it is also a multidisciplinary in nature, because in order to understand the international relations, you need to have a knowledge about other disciplines like history, geography, political science, economics, and so on and so forth. So this subject has been it's a subfield or a part of a political science, but there are various universities who has been offering a separate discipline. Okay, so separate degree. Okay, so so that's why it is a very interesting and a fascinating, or it's emerging or a dynamic subjects. Okay, so while defining the international relations, I'll be taking the example of global warming. So what is actually global warming? So global warming means a gradual increase in the temperature of Earth. And global warming is not only influences one particular country, it influences whole world. Okay, so because it led to the climate change. And in order to fight against the global warming or the climate change, it is known as a collective interest, because global warming not only focuses or affects or influences one particular country, it affects or influences the world. Okay, whole world. So that's why it has become the collective interest of the whole world. So in order to fight against the global warming is what? It is the collective interest or common goal of all the countries in the international system. So here comes the questions like, how do we fight against the global warming? So we can fight against the global warming by reducing greenhouse gas emissions. So in this context, how do we reduce greenhouse gas emissions? So we can reduce greenhouse gas emission by reducing the use of fossil fuel. And what comes under the fossil fuels, like using of coal, petroleum, and there are so many things which comes which creates the greenhouse gas in the earth. And as compared to like nuclear energy, so nuclear energy is very costly than fossil fuels, so that's why most of the countries prefer to go for fossil fuels. So if any country compromise with their economic growth, it directly related with the growth of the particular country. And the country do not want to go for like nuclear energy. Why? Because it is very costly, and they do not want to compromise with their economic growth. So if they compromise with their economic growth, it directly led to the growth of the country. Okay, so and that's why the economic growth of each country, it is known by individual interest. On the other hand, we have a common interest. Okay, so what is the common interest? To fight against the global warming is the common interest of the all the countries. On the other hand, we have this individual interest. Okay, so but individual interest means what? So the growth of the country, economic growth of the country is what? Individual interest. So in the international system, we could see the conflict between the economic conflict between the collective interest and the individual interest. So that is the defining character of international system. So if this conflict has not been resolved, it lead to the war. So why? Because in international system is anarchy. So anarchy means the absence of world governments. So there is because of the absence of world government, there is no one is like to guide you or to resolve the conflict. And if so that's why the conflict resolution is very important in international system. If it not resolved, then it lead to war, it lead to global economic depression or the climate change. And here comes the questions like how country resolve this kind of conflict in the international system if there is an absence of in world government. So in that context, like country resolve this kind of conflict by interacting or establishing some kind of relationship with each other, and that is the subject matter of international relations. And while explaining about the conflicts in IR, the central the concept is known as collective good in problem. So collective good problem is that problem of how to provide something that benefits for all the members. And I have already told you, like international affairs is the absence of world government, and in order to resolve all this like collective goods problem, okay, so collective interest or the conflict in the international system, so there are three core principles, that is your dominance, reciprocity, identity, which offers answers to these questions of what collective goods problem and the conflict in the international system. And in the international system, first we can solve the collective good problems through the dominance. Okay, so the dominance is the principle which solves the collective good problems by establishing power hierarchy. Okay, so by maintaining the power hierarchy in the international system. So you have this hegemonic power or the super power in the international system. So right after a Cold War, so USA became the superpower in the international system. So USA became the hegemonic power, and became the hegemonic power, and it became the dominant character in the international system. So that's why the USA has a power to establish some kind of order or stability or predictability in the international system. So take the example of Iraq War. So we have seen Iraq War in 2003. So in that case, the US's toppled or assassinated the Saddam Hussein of Iraq in 2003. So in this context, this the hegemonic character or the superpower also maintains some kind of order or stability in the international system. That is by maintaining the hierarchy in the international system. And second one is reciprocity. So reciprocity is all about the mutual cooperation. Okay, so mutual cooperation between the states. So or take the example of trade. Okay, so for example, if India opens the trade market for China, so in that case, China also need to open the trade market for the India. Again, take the example of diplomats. Okay, so if India expels the diplomats of China, so China, so in that case, China also expels the diplomats of the India. So that is what it is, the mutual cooperation and mutual cooperation between the states. So with this, they can also solve the collective goods problem in the international system. So last one is your identity. So identity signifies some kind of sacrifices for the group or for the international system. So take the example of nuclear weapons. Okay, so after the like Second World War, so two bomb were dropped in Hiroshima and Nagasaki of Japan. So as a consequence of that, though Japan has a large number of plutonium, okay, so they have a capability to produce the nuclear weapons, but they are not enriching the nuclear weapons. So that's why they are sacrificing. Okay, so they are contributing something to the international system. Again, take the example of Germany, and there are many South African countries. So they are not enriching the nuclear weapons, so they are sacrificing towards the development or the assistance to the international system. So that is creates or also solves the collective goods problem in the international system. Okay, so while seeing all those thing in the before slide, so what actually about international relations? So international relation is the systematic study of the relationship and interactions between countries, nature, and the consequences of the such relationship. It can be studied as a condition. Okay, so as a condition facts of international politics, the actual conduct of relations among nations through diplomacy based on foreign policy, cooperation, conflict, and war among them. And as a field of study, it understand and explain nations' acts and behaviors in the international state system. So that's why international relations or politics are generally understood as a set of actions, reactions, interactions between sovereign states through the medium of their foreign policies. So the foreign policy is very important in order to maintain the relationship between the other countries. And it also study about the global state system. And while talking about the state system, so state is the organization of humankind with the sovereign state. So sovereign state means what? Self-governing state. So international system is full of states. Okay, so the states are the main actors of international system. And it also study various events, phenomenon, issues, organization, structures, conflict and cooperations, and it goes beyond the boundaries of the state nations. So for example, study of global conflict. Okay, so global conflict like violence and war, peace and cooperations, global trade and business, migration, refugee, terrorism, climate change, and there are so many issues. So issues like Rohingya refugee. Okay, so like terrorist organization like ISIS and Islamic State. So these all are is the subject matter of international relations. And talking about the definition of international relations, so there are various definitions has been given by the scholars of international relations. So the most important definitions from the realist perspective is your Hans Morgenthau. So Hans Morgenthau is the father of the political realism, and he defines international system is struggle of power among states in international system. Okay, international relations is nothing but the struggle for power among the states. According to Palmer and Perkins, international relations includes many other things beyond interrelationship between states, international organization and groups. Despite keeping nation state in its center, international relations also accommodate various other relationships at upper and lower levels of nation states. According to Stanley Hoffman, international relation is concerned with those elements and events which affect foreign policies and powers of those fundamental political units in which the world is divided. So according to Quincy Wright, international relations not only organize a study of relations between states but also study of various kinds of groups like nations, states, people, alliances, regions, international organization, industrial organization, religious organization, and so on and so forth. So besides that, there are so many definitions of international relations. I have only mentioned the scholars, all these scholars in this lecture. Okay, so now the nature of international relations. So what is actually the main innate character of the international relation or the nature of international relations? So the first nature of the international relation is anarchy. Okay, so according to the realist perspective, this is like international system is anarchic state. Okay, so anarchy means what? Anarchy means absence of world government. There is no supranational authority. Okay, so if any conflict happens between the states or among the states, so there is no any kind of world government to resolve the conflict. And second nature of international relation is states or nation states are the main actors in international state system. So who all are the actors of international system, state system? So nations and states are the main actors of international system. Third nature of the IR is Eurocentrism and ethnocentrism. So this the subject matter of IR has been evolved from the European countries, and it also emerged from the European and the American countries. So that's why it is a Eurocentrism, and it also derives its culture from the European countries. So that's why it is a ethnocentrism, and it is also multidisciplinary in nature, and it has also multi-theoretical. So there are so many theories of international relations. So that's why it is also a multi-theoretical in nature. And another nature of IR is your behavioralism. So international relations try to compare states' behavior to the human nature. Okay, so most of the scholars scholars of the international relations, they try to compare states' behavior with the humans' behavior. Okay, and the changing nature in contemporary world. So international relation is it's a dynamic, and it is changing day-to-day life. Okay, so in the contemporary world, so it focuses on the increasing roles of non-state actors, supranational organization. Okay, so it not only focuses on the nation states, it started to focusing on what increasing the roles of non-state actors and supranational organization, and it also started to locus shifting from Europe and North America to Asia and third world countries. So international relations has been tilting towards though it was established from the European or American countries, now it started to focusing on Asia and other third world countries. And the focus shifting from interstate war and security to interdependence. Okay, so the interwar state also interstate war has been also shifting, and we could see security, interdependence, and cooperations to tackle environmental degradation, climate change, terrorism, and violence, hunger, poverty, energy, security, and so and so forth. So these all are the innate characteristics or the nature of international relations. So here, what is the differences between the international politics and international relations? So basically the international politics concerned with the politics of international community in a rather narrower sense, by focusing on diplomacy and the relations among state and other political units, whereas international relations consist of totality of describes all types of relations between countries and peoples, political or non-political, peaceful or warlike, legal or cultural, economic or geographic, official or non-official, formal or informal. That's why international politics lay more emphasis on the official relations between the states and the government and officials, whereas higher includes non-officials, informal and private relations among groups and peoples. In fact, it encompasses all human behavior on one side of national boundary affecting human behavior on the other side of the boundary. So on the other hand, international politics is interested in state-to-state relations, whereas IR goes beyond it and covers people-to-people relations as well. So that's why international relations is wider than the international politics. Now the scope of international relations.